The federal government is set to partially shut down late tonight. And after Australia banned social media for kids under 16 last month, officials are telling the platforms to plan for a new age verification requirement. Good morning. I'm Corva Coleman from NPR News, and here are today's top stories. The federal government could partially shut down late tonight because there isn't any money to pay the bills. The House failed last night to pass a short-term spending bill backed by President-elect Trump and his billionaire ally, Elon Musk. Nearly all the Democrats opposed it. They're livid because Republicans backed out of a bipartisan spending plan this week after Musk and Trump objected to it at the last minute. But the new spending plan failed when 38 Republicans joined the Democrats to vote no, including Texas Congressman Chip Roy.
I want appropriators and leadership who are always the ones who are obstacles to actually cutting spending to pony up and explain why they won't agree to the spending cuts that we said we should put in place.
Trump is furious. Writing online, he's called for a challenger to face Roy in a primary election. But Trump supports the looming government shutdown. He says it's better for the country to close than to agree to what Democrats want to, quote, force upon us. The suspect accused of killing United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson has appeared in federal court in New York City. Luigi Mangione was already indicted by a New York grand jury on murder and terrorism charges. NPR's Sarah Ventry reports Mangione now faces federal counts.
The federal charges include murder and 2 counts of stalking. The unsealed complaint filed in the Southern District of New York includes a timeline of Mangione's alleged movements. It states that the shooter, quote, undertook extensive efforts to identify the victim, place the victim under surveillance, and track the victim's whereabouts. In a statement, Mangione's attorney, Karen Friedman-Agnifilo, says the federal government's decision to, quote, pile on top of an already overcharged first-degree murder and state terror case is highly unusual and raises serious constitutional and statutory double jeopardy concerns. Sarah Ventry, NPR News, New York.
The Teamsters Union has called strikes at 7 Amazon facilities across the country. The union wants the online retailer to come to the bargaining table to hammer out labor contracts. Some of the people who are striking work for Amazon, but others work for third-party companies. NPR's Andrea Hsu reports the company rejects the union's position.
Amazon has called this a PR play on the part of the Teamsters. The company has disputed that the Teamsters even represents these thousands of workers. And part of the issue is those third-party drivers. Amazon says they're not company employees, but this has been a subject of litigation. The Teamsters and federal labor officials have argued that even though these drivers are not direct employees of Amazon, they only work for Amazon. Amazon controls their wages and their working conditions.
NPR's Andrea Hsu reporting. Amazon says it doesn't expect delivery delays. Amazon is among NPR's financial supporters. Workers at Starbucks stores across the country say they're planning to launch a 5-day strike today. They'll start the strike in cities such as Chicago, Los Angeles, and Seattle. The union that represents the workers says Starbucks has failed to honor a commitment it made to settle a new labor agreement this year. Starbucks says the union walked away from the bargaining table this week. A U.S. diplomatic delegation is in Damascus to hold talks with Syria's new interim government. It's the first official delegation of its kind since the U.S. closed its embassy in 2012. NPR's Hadil Al-Shelchi has more from Damascus.
The U.S. State Department said that the diplomatic delegation traveling to Damascus will push what it called transition principles with Syria's interim leaders on how to build an inclusive government. The militia, which led opposition forces to topple the Assad regime, is Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, or HTS. It is designated a terrorist organization by the U.S. HTS is desperate to shed the title which severely restricts the amount of aid Syria would receive, money that it needs to rebuild the country. The delegation will also be looking for new information on the whereabouts of missing American journalist Austin Tice. Hadil Al-Shalchi, NPR News, Damascus.
Officials in Australia are telling social media companies to start planning for a new age verification law. NPR's Bobby Allen reports Australia passed the world's first ban on social media for children under 16 years old.
Snapchat, TikTok, Instagram, and other social media apps now have to confirm a user's age under Australia's new law to prevent children under 16 from logging on. Violating companies can pay fines up to $50 million. The country's e-safety commissioner, Julie Inman Grant, told NPR in an interview that social media should be treated in Australia like water safety. She says decades ago, there was a spate of fatal drownings in swimming pools, so the country passed fencing requirements.
But we don't try and fence the ocean because that's futile. What we do is we teach our children to swim at the youngest age, just like we need to teach them digital literacy.
Grant says the aim of the law is to keep children away from the addictive design features of social media. Some apps, like gaming and messaging platforms, will be exempted. Bobby Allen, NPR News.
The Food and Drug Administration has new rules to determine which foods can be labeled as healthy. NPR's Allison Aubrey reports the changes come at a time when diet-related diseases are a leading cause of disability and death in the U.S.
If a food manufacturer wants to add a healthy claim on their label, the product must not contain too much saturated fat, added sugars, or sodium. In addition, the product must contain certain amounts of at least one of the food groups included in the dietary guidelines. This includes beans, lean meats, fish, fruits, and vegetables. The FDA's Claudine Cavanaugh says the new definition may help foster a healthy food supply.
The healthy claim can be a real quick signal to help empower consumers.
The FDA says diet-related conditions such as diabetes, obesity, and heart disease contribute to America's status of having the lowest life expectancy among large, high-income countries. Allison Aubrey, NPR News.
Officials with the Los Angeles Zoo say they have helped hatch 2 baby Perentie lizards. These are among the largest types of lizards in the world and can grow to more than 8 feet long. The LA Zoo officials say the hatchlings are the first to be bred there and that they're doing well. I'm Corva Coleman, NPR News in Washington.